From National Public Radio, this is Horizons. I'm Verda May Grosvenor.
I know this communication thing is a very important thing in the Caribbean because the way we speak, what we say is not necessarily what we are saying.
Since my experience in 63, I want no businessman to come home by me. My experience in 63, I want no businessman to come home by me. Them businessmen could mash up your life. They have a tendency to question your wife. And if your wife give them the slightest encouragement, bet your life is you who in a predicament.
Some say it's easier to laugh than to cry. In the islands of the Caribbean, that seems to be true. With its beauty, relaxed atmosphere, happy people, with stories to tell every day, people become not only great storytellers, but comics. They take a word, caress it, play with it, deform it, reform it, and come up with a language, new and all their own. It's all a part of the oral tradition. On this edition of Horizons, the word masters of island comedy, producer Vaughn Martin, a native of Trinidad and Tobago, visits with his friends, some of whom he grew up with. In what is called the Talk Tent, Martin and his friends show how capable they are in making us laugh as they become word masters of island comedy.
So one more time, a very good evening, ladies and gents, and a special welcome to the Talk Tent. As you know, we have become an institution, and it's a pleasure to be here one more time in Washington to give you information if you want to know. We started about 10 years ago, and to give you a more background, I think it's a must. We introduce the host, Mr. Paul Keynes Douglas.
But I am here to bring good news. Things are improving in Trinidad, things are turning around, everything is happy and lovely down there. Yesterday I was downtown, San Fernando. When I passed in the morning, I see a man begging with one hand out like that. When I passed back in the evening, I see him begging with two hands out. I say, what happened? He said, business good to open a branch.
That Paul Keynes Douglas, he makes me laugh with his wit and the choice of words. You see, we in the islands have our own Bill Cosbys, Jay Leno's, and Eddie Murphys too. Even among ordinary people, when we gather together on the street corners, in the backyards, at parties or socials, we make each other laugh a lot. That's the oral tradition. With the use of it, we become word masters. Come with me, and let's have some fun in the Talk Tent. Loosen up, relax, and enjoy the feeling of the islands, Trinidad and Tobago, through the accent, pronunciation, diction, the emphasis, which blend to give that island flavor.
The next gentleman I want to bring on the stage, I find that he is looking good for his age. When you see this fella was breaking up dance, the relator was still in a short pants. So I know, ladies and gents, you're going to have some fun. The next man on the stage is Mr. Bill Trotman.
Fine, thank me and myself. Well, I beg your pardon? Well, I must let you know, I've been traveling all over the world and other places. And I've had to perform for doctors, lawyers, soldiers, nurses, teachers, children, even people. Anyway, I've been working for a lot of different kinds of people, which I will tell you about. But you see, leaving Trinidad to come here, that was something else. Well, my brother picked me up in his car, and driving all the way to the airport. Well, he had one of his niece sitting in the car with us. Just as we were about approaching the airport, we could see the plane just about to land. And the little girl jumped. She said, Uncle, look, a mail plane. I said, that ain't no male plane, girl. Them is the wheels hanging down. So, actually, I got to the airport. I was going to travel United, you know, but the last time I did that, I got my face slapped. So I decided I was going to travel, as usual, BWIA. Well, you know what BWIA stands for. Britain's Worst Investment Abroad.
We take hold of the word and make it ours. My good friend Dr. Keith Warner is an author who writes about the oral tradition and studies the art form. He agrees that we constantly play with words on a daily basis.
I guess most language people will say basically the same thing, but we, I think, in the Caribbean are particularly attuned to words and their meanings, either in the, as you see in the Calypso, where you have almost an excessive amount of neologisms and words that have been created, or deliberately using lengthy words in their wrong context for comic effect, sort of the type of thing that Norm Crosby does in America.
Our lifestyle in the Caribbean is more relaxed than in larger countries. It lends itself to laughter. Back home, it's a cooler atmosphere. We're outdoors, the breeze is blowing, the setting is there for laughter with your friends.
Even when we get together as a group to hang out, as they say in this country, or lime, as we say in Trinidad, there is a constant wordplay going on, and immediately anything happens within the society, we have the wordplay aspect of it coming out.
The old folks say it takes only 4 muscles to smile and 12 muscles to frown, so it's better to laugh. In the islands, we make fun of ourselves. Every village has a clown, and some even become well-known comedians. A lot stay, though, on the street corners and make fun of people, entertaining them and becoming village characters. One such person who became famous a long time ago and now is a member of parliament from the village Mamural is Ramdeen Ramjatan, who calls himself John Agitation.
A fella doing lifetime in jail want to talk to me. As the people's representative, I have to go. You think politicians does have it easy? Ask one. I gone in the prison to see this man we're doing lifetime. When he see me, he start to cry. I say, what you crying for? When you do your crime, you do it as man. No, make you jail as man. He say, Aji boy, you know what I'm crying for? My only chance of coming out of jail failed. I say, what was that? He say, boy, I reading the Bible in my cell. And I turn to Luke 11 verse 10, which reads, for they that seeketh findeth, he that asketh receiveth, and to those that knocketh it shall be opened unto him. He said, I write the prison authority and tell them under Luke 11 verse 10, all you bung to let me go out of jail. I say, and what happened? He said, you know what happened, my boy? They write me back and they quote for me too. Trouble me not, for the door is already shut. Luke 7.
Being locked up in prison is no joke, but in the islands we can even find humor in hard times. Keith explains it just right.
Trying to put our worldview, our lifestyle, in a way that is specifically ours. And so when people look at us in the Caribbean and figure we're always laughing at everything, we never seem to take anything seriously, I don't think that's quite true. We do take it very seriously, but the seriousness of it is disguised via what we call the comic aspect.
In the talk tent, the master of ceremony sings to introduce the talk artist, which is the reverse to the Calypso tent, where the master of ceremony talks to introduce his singers. Now some say that singing is easier than talking comedy. You sing a song 20 times, the crowd loves it. You give a joke 3 times, which they have heard already, you're bummed out. Traditionally, in the islands, calypso singers, like talkers, have played with words for two reasons. First, because of the sheer joy of dazzling their listeners with their witty creations, and second, because it is in their clever word usage that they can hide all their naughtiness we have come to expect from their saucy accounts.
While working, you know, I rang up my wife one day, just for curiosity to see if everything okay. The amount of funny noise that I heard on the telephone, I could have swear that my wife had a guest at home. So when I asked her what is that funny noise I am hearing there, Anita, she say, is the meter man reading the meter. The confidential way me and my wife does live, I never one day try to play detective, but this meter man, he had me so suspicious that when I reached home with my wife, I was curious. So right there I call her for questioning, and to follow that I gave her a song warning. But when I think everything was settled for true, 2 weeks later you go hear what I need to do. While working, you know, I left 12 minutes to noon. I heard a rumbling and a tumbling, she didn't expect me so soon. When I look inside, what you think I see? A man lie down on my bed like if he is me. What I saw with my eyes, believe I nearly dropped dead. I hold my head, the repossessor now dismounting the bed.
Paul Keynes Douglas from Trinidad and Tobago founded the Talk Tent in 1983 to create a platform for the talk artist.
Because I found that, you know, in the Caribbean, when we have our talk shows, the comedians and the comics and the storytellers are always put in between what they call the important acts and tell you what, keep the crowd quiet while the important things set up in the back. So I said, no, we have our own Bill Cosbys and our Eddie Murphys, and we have our comedians and professionals, and there should be a place for them to perform in the art form, and therefore we founded the Talk Tent. Because, you see, West Indians think it's an easy thing to talk. But it's not an easy thing to talk at all, at all, at all. You know, it takes a special thing to be a talker. In the first place, West Indian parents don't like their children to become things like comedians or comics, or things like that, you know. No mother wants to introduce her son like, meet my son, the clown. But if you're an engineer or a doctor, lawyer, composer, interior decorator, anything with an "er" in it is all right. That's why tonight I'm a storyteller.
And so what Paul has done is to show us that there is nothing wrong in moving it from the street corners, from the bars, from the taxi cabs where we have it, and presenting it in a professional kind of setting and exporting it, taking it beyond the Caribbean, showing people that that is what we are, that is what makes us who we are, and that's how we come, that's our package.
We all manipulate the word with varying degrees of success, but there are those who truly master this art, who know how to lure us into their web of enchantment and comic ecstasy. The word master becomes a mirror of our society.
We have often used world events to our benefit. You hear it all the time in the Calypso, and it's no wonder that the so-called stand-up comics will do that as well.
I have been getting involved in a lot of communication programs and stuff, you know, studying the situation in the Caribbean. And basically, the Caribbean, we have two basic situations, problems. Our problems are basically either hereditary problems or environmental problems, right? Now, hereditary things, problems you inherit from your grandmother, your last husband, your last government, your last whatever, you inherit those problems. Environmental are those you create for yourself by doing dotish and stupid things. Now, to explain further, I'll tell you this. If your wife has a baby and it looks like you, that's hereditary. If your wife has a baby and it looks like the neighbor, that's environmental. So now you understand that we can divide our problems into two sections. We have economic problems and health problems. Now, when it comes to economy, I think any good housewife could run the government. Because most housewives understand the basis of good economics, that is, you cannot spend what you don't have. Now, most Trinidadians like to spend what they have, what they don't have, and what other people have.
Although the field is dominated by men, women are no strangers to this long tradition. Deborah Jean-Baptiste of San Fernando, a young journalist, is a pioneer in the Talk 10 today. She follows a long line of comic women calypso singers who battled men for a place on center stage. Like Whoopi Goldberg of the USA and Louise Bennett of Jamaica, Deborah assumes her role with confidence.
I saw her do a particular sequence where she talked about, she described the different kinds of laughter, and as she described it, I could hear my grandmother and her friends doing that, because there were times when I knew that if my grandmother laughed in a particular kind of way, I had better be careful, because it was only a laugh that seemed to be a laugh, but it spoke volumes.
You know, I was in the back and I hear you all laughing, and it really pleased my heart. Because, you know, if it's one thing you could always know a Caribbean person by is the laugh. Kind of laugh that's echo and hit back. A rich kind of laugh. But you know, it have all kind of laugh. Yeah. It have what we call the tee-hee tickle. You know, the little kind of giggle laugh. That's the tee-hee tickle. Then you have the whale laugh. Now, it have whale number 1 and it have whale number 2. Whale number 1 is those people who laugh with their whole face, like if they could swallow a whale. Like my friend Adela. Adela mouth big. When Adela laugh, lipstick just clog all by she ears. Adela is the only girl I know could eat hops bread like you just eat nuts. When Adela laughed, I said, Dudu, darling, don't laugh so much. Close your mouth a little bit, because you're seeing all Adela diaphragm. That is whale number 1. Then you have whale number 2. You know, the people who just laugh like if they're crying. They're wailing and they're moaning and they're holding their head and they're crying and all kind of thing. That is whale number 2. Then you have laugh lie. You know, people who laugh but they don't know what the joke is. They didn't catch it. They lie. But they want everybody around them to feel they understand, you know. So they're laughing and they're holding their belly and things so that nobody could ask them, what is that? What was the joke? Then you have laugh over. You know, some people just laugh long after the joke passed and it's done. They're still laughing and people listening for the next joke and them still laughing at the joke before. That is laugh over. Then you have laugh over.
Of course, one must be a part of the wider culture in the Caribbean to seize all the innuendos and noises. Hence the puzzled look on the faces of some of our visitors to our talk tent. They don't get the joke. But by and large, the experience is one of a communal enjoyment.
Many of the things we do, the noises that we make with our voices, just that from your parent told you more than any long lecture. You just knew what you were allowed to do or not to do, as the case may be. So we are very cued into the inflections of voice, how we can use it, whether we are saying something with tongue in cheek and that kind of thing. I think we are, from that point of view, a very oral, O-R-A-L, and oral, A-U-R-A-L, type of people.
Communication is very important. Not just what you say, but how you say it. Paul Keynes Douglas.
So you see the kind of problem we have with communication. So the way you say what you say is very important. And then, of course, we have all the things like pronunciation. Westerners love to talk, but they can't pronounce to save their life. But there's a big argument between a Grenadian and a Vincentian. Grenadian said the word is prefer. Vincentian said the word is prefer. They arguing prefer, Trinidadian passing. They say, Trini, come tell us, what is the word, prefer or prefer? He say, boy, you see me, personally, I prefer.
We may all be from the islands, but we don't speak the same.
We are a land of accents. We have Grenadian, Vincentian, Dominican, Jamaican, Bahamian. You have downtown accent, uptown accent, behind the bridge accent. You have accent by accident. You have all kind of accent. Other day in Barbados, big accident, tourists walking across the road, Bajan taxi driver come, pull up brakes, and then he bunks the man. Bajan get vexed. Say, man, you come here to die? Englishman say, no, I came here just to die.
But accents are not the only measure of our speech. We use our hands as well.
In the West Indies, the way we talk, we love to use our hands. You see? We love to say things long, or they're short, or they're wrong. Just these hands, very, very important when you have the oral traditions, not just the mouth, the language of the body. Then, of course, West Indians, when we speak, the words are very important. You see, language is very much a thing of words. And in the Caribbean, we have all these different ways of speaking because we speak in terms of imagery. I have come up with what you call vocabulary of imagery, right? We create images with words. So sometimes the grammatical word is not the correct word. It's just how you say it, and you use the word that have the right sound. It's like music, We use all these tonal qualities. And you see this West Indian hunting, that comes from Africa. You see, in the old days, when we were in Africa before we were slaves, we had lion to fight, bush to jump over, tiger to wrestle, spear to throw, shield to pick up, vine to swing on, river to jump over. All them kind of things. They pick us up and they drop us in the West Indies, braps. No lion, no tiger, but we have all the action still. So when you see fellas, doing all this thing, remember, it's culture going on. So look out for the body language.
Culture in body language. It is true. Today's era has weaved together popular folklore and beliefs, thus preserving this old tradition of the word master. In days gone by, our history was kept and handed down by talkers who informed the village and its rulers what was going on in the society. This concept came all the way from West Africa to the Caribbean by the slaves. Each generation handed down their legacy to their own keepers of history. And so today, we see the same occurrence being celebrated in the talk tent. John Agitation is no stranger to this style.
I think what's happening in Trinidad these days, I know we have Trinidadians here, some American Trinidadians. Some of them just get locked up in the airport in Trinidad for nothing these days. One of them gone there and they're talking American, hijack! They lock him up.
He portrays the ordinary Trinidadian who lives in New York and returns home to impress his buddies with his newfound accent. John is also not afraid to poke fun at the highest politician in the land, Prime Minister A.N.R. Robinson of Trinidad and Tobago, who he compares to a coconut tree in Tobago whilst his government tries to stop the production of sugar.
You see, in Trinidad these days, a lot of changes taking place. The government want to stop sugar. I don't know if you have any islands in the Caribbean that grow in sugar like Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago, how much sugar? I have 1 or 2 coconut trees and Robinson. Yes, they want to stop sugar. So they came to me with a delegation. Me and no little representative, you know, Papa. Every problem they have, they're bringing it to me as a comedian. You see, we as comedians doing things so right in Trinidad, they rather consult we. So the sugar workers come to me and say, Aji, just now we go have work. They want to finish sugar. I say, hold on your hand, hold on your hand. Nowhere in the world, any country producing sugar, they can't stop it. You know why? Sugar go back to the days of inception. If all you just read all your Bible, you will see when Adam and Eve was thrown out of the Garden of Eden, they raised Cain.
In the talk tent, the audience delights in the word imagery of our many comedians. I find it somewhat surprising that we have not produced more stand-up comics in the Caribbean. Perhaps it is because we have so many of them on every street corner, every backyard, every party, at every soccer match. We take them for granted. But now, with the talk tent and its contributors like John Agitation, Dennis Sprangelang Hall, Fabian, Tommy Joseph, Deborah Jean-Baptiste, Stork St. Hill, Bill Trotman, and Paul Keynes Douglas, more will be seen and heard as they give life center stage to the word.
Not just that you have to learn to economize when it comes to economics, when it comes to health, you have to learn to condomize. Now you see this thing they call the condom is a serious thing when it comes to health problems. We ain't talking sex, we're talking health. A lot of people really don't know what a condom is, but they're too embarrassed to ask. I met a girl tell me she thought a condom was a small condominium. I know she buys shares in one. But she's the same girl who tell me she thought the ozone layer was a foul. So you see the kind of problems we have educating people. Now, even when it comes to children, in the Caribbean, we have this double standard. We like to pretend that the children can't understand nothing and hide everything from them, tell them all kind of roundabout ways. When the children very well can understand, and if your child has the intelligence to understand, you can explain to him properly. But parents like to hide his business, Little boy writing, doing his homework, yeah? Then he stopped. He said, Daddy, how was I born? Father panicked immediately. He said, the stork brought you. The boy write down. Daddy, how was Grandpa born? The stork brought him too. Little boy write down. Daddy, how was great-grandpa born? Look, man, the stork brought all of them. Little boy write down. Close the book, go on to bed. So the father says, I wonder why he asked me all those questions. Goes to the child's book, opens it, and there the child has written, there has been no sexual intercourse in our family for 3 generations.
So she asks me what I'm getting on so far. In the middle of the talk, I heard a rap on the door. When I look outside, I saw the mailman. No bag on his shoulder, not a single mail in his hand. So when I asked him what is going on, well, hear what the postman say. Right away, I just drop in to say that no mails today.
The Word Masters of Island Comedy was produced and narrated by Vaughn Martin. Engineering by Dennis Nielsen. Production assistants Aileen Ellis. Program editor Sora Newman. Senior producer for the Horizon series is Donna Limray. I'm Verda Mae Grosvenor. Listener comments should be addressed to Horizons National Public Radio, 2025 M Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20036. Funds for Horizons are provided by NPR member stations. This is NPR, National Public Radio.